One night, a gang of thieves were stealing boxes with electronics from a warehouse. They were carrying them to their van when they heard a police car siren. And still, even though the thieves didn't manage to avoid the police, they didn't get arrested. Why? They started to carry the boxes back into the warehouse, pretending to be a late-night delivery. You need to take 2 apples from your garden and bring them to your friend, but she lives on the other bank of the river. To get to her house, you have to cross a bridge. It can hold your weight and the weight of 1 apple. If you try to step on the bridge with 2 apples, it'll collapse into the water, which is swarming with piranhas. What can you do to bring your friend 2 apples if you can only make 1 trip? You should cross the bridge while juggling the apples. When is 1,893 and 2,548 smaller than 498? When they are years BCE. Susan worked in a clothing store that sold expensive designer items. One day, she discovered that someone had stolen a pair of pants. Look at the people who were inside at that time. Try to figure out who the thief is. It's the guy on the right. If you look attentively at his legs, you'll see the pants peeping out from under his jeans. A mad researcher caught Eric. He told the man, "I'll let you go if you jump from a 30-foot tall ladder and remain unhurt." Eric thought a bit and did just that. How did he manage to avoid injuries? He jumped from the bottom stair. Detective Michael Brown went missing while investigating a tricky case. His friend, Detective Williams, found out that one of their colleagues was behind his disappearance. Williams visited Brown's home, and his friend's wife gave him a note. "Michael told me to give it to you if something happened to him." In the note, there were 4 numbers, 2, 8, 6, 7. Williams started to question his colleagues. "I've been away visiting my parents," said Tess. Jack said, "I haven't seen Brown for a couple of days." And Nora replied, "I'm just a trainee. Detective Brown gave me a task and I was busy doing it." Williams thought for a while, looked at the note again, and understood who was guilty. It was Tess. 2867. The first letters of these numbers make up her name. When Ashley came home in the evening, she noticed that the living room window was broken. She got angry. Her husband must have practiced his favorite soccer moves inside again. But the man said, "I was sitting on the sofa watching a soccer match. Suddenly, a ball hit the window from the outside and broke the glass." He showed his wife the soccer ball he was talking about. But Ashley came to the window and immediately realized her husband was lying. How? The woman saw that the glass was on the ground outside the house. But if someone outside had kicked the ball and it had broken the glass, the shards would be inside the room. 3 tortoises are having a walk in the park. One of them says, "2 tortoises are following me." The second tortoise says, "1 tortoise is moving in front of me and 1 is behind me." And the third tortoise says, "2 tortoises are traveling in front of me and 1 is behind me." How is it possible? The tortoises are moving in a circle. Stephen had a storeroom in his house. It got locked with a special padlock which could be closed without a key, but to open it, Stephen had to use one. The only person who had the key was Stephen. There were no duplicates. The man locked the door carefully every evening. But one day, a golden brooch was found lying in the middle of his storeroom. It had been stolen from the museum the day before. The police suspected that Stephen was the thief because no one else had the key, and the man lived alone. Stephen knew for sure he was innocent, but then, how did the brooch appear in the room? While Stephen was in the storeroom, the real criminal changed the padlock. Stephen didn't need the key to lock it. That's why he didn't realize the padlock had been changed. Later, the thief opened the lock with his own key and left the brooch inside the room. Look at these two detectives standing on a wooden board. Which of them is smarter? The one on the left. He can keep his balance by standing in the middle of the wooden board. But the other detective can easily fall down. Once, a dance studio owner found Dylan, one of the instructors, lying on the floor in one of the rooms. Someone had hit the man on the head. The police questioned the dance studio workers and visitors and found 3 suspects. Chloe, a regular, said she hadn't visited the studio for several days. She had a couple days off and spent them sunbathing on the beach. Ethan, another instructor, told the police his friend had called him and asked for help. That's why he had left the studio before Dylan came to work. Layla, Dylan's girlfriend, told the police they had quarreled earlier in the morning, but after that, she didn't see Dylan. The police officers understood right away who was behind the attack. It was Chloe. She said she had spent several days on the beach, but her skin was extremely pale. There are 4 floors in a hotel. The higher the floor, the more people stay there. Which floor does the elevator visit most frequently? The first floor. People from all the floors go there. A billionaire's wife called the police at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. She said she found her husband unconscious in his study. A baseball bat was lying next to him on the floor. The police questioned everyone who lived in the house. The wife said she had been away, buying her husband a present for their 10th wedding anniversary. The driver said he had left the evening before. He went to his parents' house because they needed some help. And the cook said he'd been preparing breakfast since 6 a.m. and hadn't left the kitchen. Who's lying? The wife. Stores aren't likely to be open so early on Sunday morning. You've got 9 coins. One of them is fake, and it weighs a bit less than the others. You've also got a pair of scales, and you're about to do 2 weighings. How can you figure out which coin isn't real? The first weighing. 3 coins and 3 coins. If one of these piles weighs less, the fake coin is there. If they have the same weight, the fake coin is in the 3rd pile. The second weighing, take 2 coins out of the pile with the smallest weight. The lighter one is fake. If their weight is equal, the fake coin is the 3rd one. Kevin woke up in a hospital. He only remembered his name and nothing else. A doctor came in to check on the guy. He said 3 young women were waiting to see Kevin. The women came in. Strangely, each of them had claimed she was the guy's sister. Only one of them is telling the truth. Who is it? It's the one in the middle. She has a birthmark on her hand, and Kevin has the same. Brenda promised her friend Larry to write an essay for their Friday lecture, but she had one condition. I'll help you if you increase 86 by 12 without adding anything to this number. Larry was able to do it. How? He wrote 86 on a piece of paper, turned it upside down, and he got 98. You're at home when your friends suddenly drop by. In your fridge, you only have a bottle of soda, some orange juice, and a bottle of water. What will you open first? The door of your fridge. 5 cats need 5 minutes to catch 5 mice. How much time does one cat need to catch 1 mouse? The same time, 5 minutes. Amanda was going through a deserted park when someone hit her on the head. When she recovered, her bag, along with her phone, money, and documents were gone. There were no people around except for one elderly lady. Amanda rushed towards her, explained the situation, and asked to call the police. The lady told her not to worry and started to press 911 on her phone. After talking for a minute, she said, "They're going to be here in no time." As soon as Amanda heard these words, she sprinted off. Why? Amanda saw the lady's phone didn't have any signal. Then how could she call the police? A glass jar is standing on the table so that part of it is in the air. In half an hour, the jar will fall to the floor. Why? What's inside the jar? Inside the jar, there's some ice, but its weight is distributed in such a way that the jar is balanced. Once the ice melts and turns into water, the jar will fall.
Oh boy, William got inside a cave during an archaeological expedition. There were 3 ways out, however, only one of them was safe. His map said that behind the first way out, there was a pond that swallowed everything in. The second way out led to dangerous dinosaurs that would eat him alive. The third way out led to an erupting volcano. Which way was safe? The second one, because the dinosaurs went extinct many years ago. You're running away from a pack of zombies and come across 3 doors. Behind the first one, there's raging fire. Behind the second one, there's a lake of water. Behind the third one, there's a venomous snake. Which way would you choose? I'd recommend to choose the second one and swim away. It's just a lake. You can do it. During his vacation in the jungles, Aiden was caught by some tribe. They tied him up and said they'd push him into one of the 3 pits of his choice. The first pit was filled with zombies. The second one, there was raging fire. The third one was filled with huge pitcher plants. Which pit should Aiden pick? He should choose the third one. The pitcher plants only eat insects. They're not dangerous for people. Aston reported that someone had robbed his house. Detective Callum arrived and asked Aston to tell him what happened. He said that he walked into his room and saw someone getting out of his window. They must have heard him walking inside the house. Then he checked his desk and found that his money had been stolen. Detective Callum asked if Aston had touched anything else, and the man said he hadn't. Detective Callum closed the case and refused to proceed. Can you guess why? The robber wouldn't get out of the window without stepping on the bed. However, the bed was perfectly made, and Aston said he hadn't touched it. It means there was no robber. Waverly was an archaeologist looking for a pirate treasure. In one of the caves on a deserted island, she finally found it. There were 3 chests, and one of them was filled with gold and gems. However, if she picked one of the wrong chests, terrible things would happen to her. Luckily, there were statements on each of them, but only one of these statements was true. 1. The treasure is in this chest. 2. The treasure isn't in this chest. 3. The treasure isn't in chest number 1. Which of the chests has the treasure? Let's solve it step by step. If the first statement is true, then the treasure must be in the first chest, and the other statements must be false. In this case, the second statement is also correct, so that was a wrong guess. If the second statement is true, then the treasure isn't in the first chest. The treasure isn't in the second chest either, just like it says. Then it must be in the third one. However, this makes the third statement correct too, although it shouldn't be. If the third statement is true, then from the first statement that is wrong, you can conclude that there's no treasure in the first chest. Since the second one is wrong too, then the treasure must be there. Now there's no contradictions, and the treasure is in the second chest. Whew. Does anybody else have chest pains? Just me? Okay. Skylar and Amelia are pen pals. Skylar said that her birthday was in winter, and Amelia said that hers is in summer. However, a couple of months later, they both had their birthday on the same day. Still, none of them lied. How is it possible? They live in different hemispheres. When it's wintertime in the US, it's summer in Australia, and vice versa. Mrs. Fitz came back from work and found that her favorite cup was broken. She asked her daughters who had done it. Katie said, "It wasn't me." Serena said, "It wasn't me either." Hannah said, "It was Serena." Mrs. Fitz knew her daughters well, and she could tell what happened. Only one of the girls was telling the truth. Can you guess who broke the cup? If Katie tells the truth, then firstly, it wasn't her who broke the cup. Secondly, the other two girls are lying. Serena is lying, so you can conclude it was her. But then Hannah is right, and that's a contradiction. Let's say Hannah is right. Then it was Serena who broke the cup, and Serena is lying. But then Katie is telling the truth too when she says it wasn't her. So Serena is telling the truth. She says it wasn't her, so you can trust her. And Katie and Hannah are lying. Katie says it wasn't her, so it was her. And Hannah says it's Serena, which is a lie. So Serena is the honest girl, and Katie is the guilty one. Hannah is just a liar. Esme was on her casual walk in the forest, and she didn't get lost this time. Here it was, her way home. But the other one was away to the witch's house. After a bit of thinking, Esme decided she had to say hi to her old friends and visit the witch. The witch said she didn't have a riddle for her that day, and Esme was free to go. But Esme had one. She said if the witch got it wrong, Esme would take her cat. Dear witch, imagine you're in a dark room. How can you get out? She mustn't imagine that. Spoiler, the witch got it and kept the cat. Next time, Esme. A police officer was walking in a neighborhood and stopped one gentleman. He asked him what the man was doing, and he said that he had just left his house to go to the grocery store. However, the officer didn't believe him and arrested the man. Why? Look, it's snowing, and there are fresh footprints on the snow that lead out of the window. House owners usually use the front door to walk out of the house, so this one must be a burglar. Bryce was a grumpy old gentleman who didn't like some teenagers walking past his house. So once, he decided to report them so they'd never be allowed to get close to him anymore. He called the authorities and told them that he was having tea on his terrace, and those teenagers threw a baseball at him. Luckily, the baseball flew above him. However, the detective didn't believe it had happened at all. Why? Take a look at the terrace. It's all made of glass. Bryce's place is right next to a window. If the baseball had flown right above him, as he said, it would have broken the glass. Thomas was collecting action figures. Some of them he got from his grandfather. They were super rare, and his collection of more than 500 figures was worth about $1 million. One day he came home from vacation and found out that his collection was stolen. Detective Callum was up for the case. There were 3 suspects, all of them were Thomas's neighbors. He said that the collection of action figures had been stolen and asked what they had been doing during the holidays. Sydney said that she was in the neighborhood. She was working, but had nothing to do with the figures. Mateo said that his grandma is staying with him, so he's always with her, and he couldn't find any room for 500 action figures at his place. Gideon said that he wasn't even in the neighborhood and had just come back himself. Who stole the collection? Mateo. No one mentioned how many figures there were in the collection, but he knew somehow. Samantha, a rich woman, found out that someone had stolen the money from her wallet. There were 3 people in the house: Malcolm, a cleaning man, Grace, a gardener, and Sebastian, a boy who walks her dog. She reported the case. The police took the fingerprints but only found those of Samantha herself. Still, they had the main suspect. Who was it? The main suspect was the cleaning man Malcolm. He's wearing gloves, and that's why he was able to do it without leaving any fingerprints. Annabelle didn't want to go to school, so in the morning, she went downstairs and told her mom that she wasn't feeling well. She said that she had eaten a bit of apple last night, and it must have been poisoned because she'd been feeling unwell all night. However, Mrs. Collins didn't believe her and sent Annabelle to school. Why? There's just one bite on the apple, and it's a fresh one. If Annabelle had left this bite last night, it'd be brown, but it was still okay, which meant it was fresh. At school, Sophie opened her locker and found an envelope. Inside, there was a calendar and a note asking if she wanted to go to the prom. However, instead of the name, there were just several numbers: 17, 2, 30, 25. Can you guess who asked Sophie to prom? The calendar is the key. You just have to find all the numbers and see what name the first letters of the respective months give you. So 17 is circled in August, so it's A. Number 2 is in December, which gives us D. Number 30 is in April, so A again. And finally, number 25 is May 25, so it's May. Seems like the guy's name is Adam. Too bad there are 13 Adams at her school. Elsie walked into a party store to buy something. She learned that 1 costs $1, 17 costs $2, and 103 costs $3. She needed 22. What do you think she's buying, and how much should she pay? She's probably buying birthday candles for a cake, so each candle costs $1. She needs 22, which is 2 candles, so she'll have to spend $2. Dennis is a talented architect. He's designed a unique skyscraper, and right now, the construction works are starting. His boss asked Dennis to show around a group of specialists from a competitor company. The only condition was that they weren't allowed to take any photos. Dennis did as he was told, but when the group was going to leave, he asked security to detain one man. The architect claimed he had been taking photos during the tour around the site. How did he understand it? The man was carrying an umbrella. He kept pointing it at different objects, asking lots of questions. But the sky is cloudless. What does he need an umbrella for? A camera must be hidden there. Nathan came to his friend Zachary, who worked in a museum. Look what I've got, a priceless manuscript that was written more than 1,000 years ago. Zachary looked through the manuscript and realized his friend had been fooled. Does anything in this text strike you as strange? If we talk about the dates before the Common Era, they should be in reverse order. The original text would read, King Alfred V ruled the country from 1320 to 1290 BCE. Detective Aaron Jones got a call late at night. It was his neighbor. "I've heard a very loud noise coming from the house next door. I'm afraid to go there to investigate alone, but what if something has happened?" When Aaron and his neighbor arrived at the place, they saw the entrance door open. They ran inside and found the house owner, Mr. Anderson, on the floor of his bedroom, tied and moaning in pain. He said he had been in bed reading a book, and then a man in a black mask broke into his room and hit him on the head. Then he tied Mr. Anderson, took all his money and other valuables, and disappeared. Detective Jones didn't believe the man. Why? Look at his bed. There isn't even a wrinkle on the cover. It's unlikely that the thief made the bed after tying Mr. Anderson, which means the man is lying. Look at this group of people and try to figure out who the man's wife is. It's the woman in purple. Both she and the biker are wearing matching wedding rings. Joan took part in an experiment, testing her logical thinking and analytical skills. She had to crack riddles to get to the next level. Right now, the girl is locked in a small room. The door will open automatically once she figures out the riddle written on a piece of paper. Which principle is this sequence based on? 8549176320. The numbers are lined up based on the alphabetical order of the first and second letters of their name. 8, 5, 4, 9, and so on. Joan managed to get out of the room and is ready for the next task. This time, the girl needs to join all the blue points on the screen, but she's allowed to use only 3 lines. How can she do it? She's drawn a triangle. Its 3 sides include all the dots. The next level is rather scary. Joan is locked in a room that's slowly filling with water. This process will only stop when the girl figures out how this equation can be true. 29 minus 1 equals 30. Even under these stressful conditions, Joan managed to crack the puzzle. She replaced the numbers with the Roman numerals. XXIX minus I equals XXX. Then she removed the 1 I from 29 XXIX and got 30 XXX. Wow, this was a riddle with a lot of excess. And finally, Joan is given the last test. She needs to figure out which object is the odd one and doesn't belong to the group. Can you do the same? It's the first object. It's the only one that doesn't have any individual traits. The second object is uniquely round. The third doesn't have a red line around it. The fourth shape is a different color, and the fifth one is smaller than the rest. 2 cars are driving through the city. They both started their journey at the same time. The green one is moving at a speed of 30 miles per hour. The yellow one is faster. Its speed is 50 miles per hour. And still, at one point, the green car comes across the yellow car. How is it possible? Well, the cars were traveling in opposite directions. Look at this teenager and 2 women behind his back. Who is his real teacher? The answer is in the reflection behind their backs. You can see that both women are holding pointers, but in the mirror, only one of them has it. She is the real teacher. 2 men are going to fill their watering cans with water from the river. Who will bring more water? The spout of the older man's watering can is situated lower than the spout of the other man's can, and the level of water can't be higher than the spout. It means the younger man will bring more water. Evelyn wants to visit one unusual restaurant, but to get there, one must know the password. The girl hides around the corner to figure it out. She sees a man come up to the security guard. The guard says 12. The man answers 6 and is allowed to come in. Then a young woman approaches the security guard. He says 6 and she answers 3. Evelyn is sure she has figured out the pattern. She comes up to the security guard and hears him say 4. The girl says 2 and isn't allowed to enter. Why? The password is always different. It's the number of letters in the word the security guard says. Like the word 12 has 6 letters. That's why Evelyn should have answered 4. A manager of the most luxurious sea resort in the area called the police. She said someone had stolen a set of very expensive monogrammed bed linen. 3 guests left the hotel that morning: Mr. Sam Taylor, Mrs. Amanda Martin, and Mr. Michael Smith. The police detained one of the guests and indeed found the bed linen in their suitcase. How did the detectives figure out which person was the thief? As you can see, the hotel's name is Morning Star. This means the monogram on the bed linen was MS. The only person with the same initials is Mr. Michael Smith. Hannah called her friend, Detective Evelyn Marks, and asked her to come as soon as possible. While the woman was away walking with her dog, someone had gotten into her house and stolen her laptop. Hannah was sure it was her neighbor, Jeremy. Evelyn went to question the man, but he wasn't at home. She decided to wait for him in her car. Soon she saw Jeremy opening his entrance door. "I went fishing early in the morning. Don't you see that I've just come home?" But Hannah didn't believe Jeremy and took him to the police station. Why? The guy was wearing white sneakers, but it's been raining since early morning. If he was out fishing, how can his shoes look so clean? Detective Jacob Robinson was spending his vacation in the mountains. One morning, he found out someone had stolen a big sum of money from the owner of the hotel where he was staying. Jacob offered the man his help and questioned all the hotel guests. Emma said, "I felt unwell and spent all the evening in my room." Lewis explained to the detective that he had only arrived at 2 a.m. and had gone straight to bed. And Simon said, "I've got friends living here in the village. I went to visit them and returned in the morning, just an hour ago." Detective Robinson immediately realized who was guilty. Do you know it? It was Simon. Look at the snow around the hotel. It looks untouched with no footprints whatsoever. Then how did Simon get back from the village? Mrs. Williamson told her daughter Maya she wasn't allowed to see her boyfriend Luke until she prepared for her exam. After that, the woman went shopping. When she was coming back, she spotted Luke, who was walking along the street. When Mrs. Williamson returned home, she immediately realized Maya had seen her boyfriend. How did the woman figure it out? When she was leaving, there were 5 roses in the vase on the kitchen table. Now there were only 4, and when she saw Luke, he was carrying a rose. Private Detective Sean was waiting for his client in the lobby of a large hotel. The client was running very late. That's why, to entertain himself, Sean was observing the hotel guests. He noticed a man at the reception desk. He had 4 suitcases, but refused when the porter offered to help him with the baggage. The man went to his room, only to reappear 5 minutes later with the largest of his suitcases. Half an hour later, he returned without the suitcase and went to his room. Soon, he rushed to the reception shouting, "My suitcases! They're gone!" Sean introduced himself and, together with the hotel management, joined the man in his room. Something seemed off about the guy, and soon the detective realized he was a fraudster. What did the man do? Each of his suitcases was smaller than the previous one. The man packed all of them into the largest suitcase and left with it. And then he pretended someone had stolen his things. Detective Taylor was chasing a dangerous criminal. Suddenly, the man entered a hospital, but there are hundreds of rooms there. Luckily, it was raining, and the criminal left footprints on the floor. The detective followed them and got into a small room. There were 3 people there. All of them were covered in bandages from head to toe. But one of them was a fake patient. Who? It's the man in the middle. He doesn't have a medical chart next to his bed. A cluster of students was divided into 3 groups. Ava, Tio, and Max were the red team. Jane, Elsa, and Ever were the blue team. Chloe, Chase, and Belle were in the 3rd group. Following the logic, what was the color of their group? Green, orange, or yellow? Students' names in the red group consist of 3 letters, just like the word red. The word blue, just like the name of the color, consists of 4 letters. The names Chloe, Chase, and Belle consist of 5 letters. So should their color. Green is the only color that fits, so their team is green. Brooke, Scarlett, Ruby, and Quinn are sisters. Quinn stands right next to Charlotte. Brooke is between Ruby and Quinn. Ruby is on the very right. Can you identify the name of each girl? Let's start with the last hint. So, Ruby is on the right. Then, since Brooke is between Ruby and Quinn, the next one is Ruby. Then there's Quinn. The remaining girl on the left must be Scarlett. It fits the first hint too, because Quinn and Scarlett stand next to each other. So, it's Scarlett, Quinn, Brooke, and Ruby. Take a look at the 4 words: corset, sector, rocket, coster. Can you tell which one of them is an extra one? It's the word rocket. All the rest are anagrams of each other. If rocket had an S instead of a K, it would be an anagram too. Philip is a young inventor who constructed a robot that can do all the household chores and called him Joey. One day, when Philip came back from university, he found that his robot was stolen. He was looking for it everywhere until he found an old and dark dungeon. He went there hoping to find his robot and wasn't mistaken. However, 5 robots looked exactly like his, and Philip had only one try to pick the right robot. If he picked the wrong one, he'd be trapped in the dungeon forever. Can you help Philip find his robot? All the robots look exactly the same, but take a closer look. One of them has a badge saying Joey, and that's the name of Philip's robot. During the Christmas holidays, Mr. Jones reported that his dog was stolen. A local detective arrived to interrogate some neighbors. Mr. Thompson said he was out all day and just returned home, so he has nothing to do with the dog. Ms. Miller said she spent all day eating and binge-watching some movies. Mr. Raymond said that he was outside the house swimming all day and hasn't heard anything about the dog and hasn't even seen it. However, the detective figured out who stole the dog. Can you? It must be Mr. Raymond. He said he was swimming outside. But take a look outside. It's winter and it's snowing. It's Christmas break. No way, man. Esme had a walk in the forest and soon realized she got lost. She was wandering around until she found a witch's house. She walked in, pet the cat, and asked the witch if she could help her out. Today, the witch was busy solving a math riddle her grandson sent her by Raven Post. He couldn't solve it and asked his grandma to help. Unfortunately, the witch couldn't solve it either, so she said that she'd let Esme go if she solves the riddle. Here's an equation. 101 minus 102 equals 1. Move just one digit and make it correct. Luckily, Esme is a smart girl. She just moved the 2 up to make it 10 squared. Now it's 101 minus 10 squared, which is 100. 101 minus 100 equals 1. So, Esme got away happily. Wyatt woke up in some dungeon. He tried to escape, but the door was locked. Moreover, a clock appeared and started ticking, saying there will be an explosion in half a minute if he doesn't crack the code. It was just one number, but the trick was that Wyatt only had one chance for a guess. Luckily, there was a hint. Can you guess what the correct digit is? The second number in each row is the number of letters needed to spell the first one. So the word 1 has 3 letters. The word 2 has 3 as well. The word 3 has 5. The word 4 has 4 letters, so the digit Wyatt needs is 4. Blake was a writer applying for a job in a fashion magazine. However, the boss was a whimsical woman. Blake did the interview well, but still, the woman didn't want to hire her because Blake was too young. The boss poured some water into a glass and asked Blake to get her some apple juice to fail her. However, there were 2 conditions. She wanted the water in the glass, but didn't want it to mix with the juice. Still, Blake figured out how to do it and got the job. How? She just put the glass in the freezer and waited till the water got frozen. Then she poured the juice on top of it. In a small neighborhood, girls started to get kidnapped. The first day, it was Anna. The next day, Hannah disappeared. Then, the third day in a row, Elle went missing too. People in the neighborhood didn't want another girl to disappear. However, there was only one police officer, and he could only stay with one of them. There were 4 girls left: Ayla, Sienna, Ava, and Alice. Can you guess who the police officer should stay with to prevent the kidnapping? There should be a pattern, and there is. The names of all the missing girls, Anna, Hannah, and Elle, are palindromic. It means they're the same when you read them forward and backward. Only Ava has a palindromic name out of the remaining girls, so she must be the next target, and the officer should stay with her. On a rainy evening, Liberty came back from school to find out that her chocolate was stolen. She called her siblings and asked who ate her chocolate, but everyone denied it. Storm said he was working out in his room and he doesn't eat sweets. Andromeda said she would never eat someone else's chocolates. Thor said that he just walked home from his friend's house and didn't touch her chocolate either. However, Liberty didn't believe one of her siblings. Who stole her chocolate? It was Thor. It's raining outside and he doesn't have an umbrella. If he was out, he'd be wet from the rain just like Liberty, but he wasn't. It means that he lied, which means he probably lied about the chocolate too. Della was having a birthday party. She invited 3 people over and got 3 presents: a pair of heels, a bag of makeup, and golden earrings. However, Della didn't like one of the presents. Can you guess which one and why? She didn't like the golden earrings just because she couldn't wear them. Her ears aren't pierced. Well, maybe she will consider piercing them. 4 sisters, Jane, Flora, Maeve, and Annika, were each born in one of the months January, February, March, and April. Here's their talk. "It's a pity no one's name starts with the same letter as their birth month," said Annika. "Who cares?" said someone who was born in January. "I wish my birth month at least started with a vowel, but I'm not even that lucky," said Maeve. Which month was each girl born in? Let's draw a table. No girl's name starts with the same letter as the month, so we cross them out. The girl born in January replied, so Annika wasn't born in January. Neither was Maeve because she replied next. So Flora was born in January. Maeve wasn't born in April because her month doesn't start with a vowel, so April's girl is Jane. It leaves only March for Annika and, therefore, February for Maeve. Elsie is working as a maid at a rich woman's house. One day, the woman reported that her diamond necklace was stolen. She claimed that it must have been Elsie who stole it because that day no one else was in the house. However, Elsie denied taking it. Who should the officer believe? He should believe Elsie. She said she didn't take it, and she's telling the truth. Look, the necklace is hidden in the woman's hair. Mr. Bright cleaned his office, locked it, and went on a vacation to Malta. He spent 2 glorious weeks there, but he immediately realized that someone had broken into his office when he returned. He was the only one who had the key, but how did he realize someone had been in the office? He cleaned the desk, but take a look at the trash can. There's some trash there now, even though it was spotless before. Virginia, a young girl, was found poisoned in her room. Detective Callum came to her house for investigation. The girl was found in the armchair with a glass of some liquid by her side. It looked like she poisoned herself, but the detective didn't believe it. He said it was someone else who poisoned her, and it probably wasn't even in the glass. Why did he think so? Take a look at Virginia's desk. The mouse is on the left side, which means she's a lefty. However, the glass stands on the right side of her. Probably someone just put it there to make it look like she did. Jason is making pizza for his family, and Savannah went outside to make some grilled vegetables. Which one of them does something wrong? Jason. He forgot to turn on the oven. Susie is listening to music and vacuum cleaning the house. Elizabeth is working in the garden. Who is doing something wrong? Susie should take her headphones out and check out what she's doing. The vacuum cleaner isn't plugged in, so she's about to do it all over again. It's finally Christmas time, and 2 girls, Nicole and Rachel, are getting ready for their vacation in Mexico. Who is doing something wrong? Rachel. Take a look. She's packing sweaters and other warm clothes. However, it's not that cold in Mexico, even during Christmas, so she should definitely reconsider her vacation wardrobe.